Broncos country. We are back again. We've got Zach and I've got Vince. My name is Eric, and we are the Broncos Zone podcast, part of the Elevated Pulse family of podcasts by the fans, for the fans, diehards only. Fellas, we finally have reached training camp. Like actual football, I think. Well, if you consider preseason football, actual football, I mean, we're just like, it's days away at this point. Days away. I think Thursday, right, is the Hall of Fame game, if I'm not mistaken. And then I think we have the Falcons. We travel to Atlanta 10 days from now, if I'm not mistaken. So yeah, it's time. It's finally time to talk some football. So man, how's your guys' week been?
Good. Yeah, nothing. It's been a busy season, but glad football's around the corner, and glad to get some relief from the crazy heat today.
It was a perfect day today, and every Broncos player that was interviewed talked about it. Loved it. Like, it was just, I wish every day was like this. But then again, we'd be living in San Diego. We wouldn't be in Denver, Colorado.
Yeah, today, I mean, so I usually wake up at about 6 o'clock and I go on a walk for about 45 minutes. And I can't tell you, it's been since, like, it feels like February, but probably not. Probably more like April. But I haven't worn pants on a walk in forever. And this morning I had to wear like joggers. So it was kind of crazy. That 55, 56 degree air kind of hit me a little bit different this morning. I'm sure it felt tremendous out on the practice field to be out there instead of 95 plus being in like 60, 70 degree weather. Had to feel great.
The boys are getting it.
Yeah,
We'll be back in the upper 90s next week, so I wish them luck.
Yeah, I mean, it's just in time for like two-a-days, right? Back in the day, at least. I don't think the NFL allows for two-a-days anymore, but yeah, well, I'm sure they'll find enough heat out on the field. But look, I know last week we talked on the show about training camp. You know, kind of the guys were showing up, and they had a couple of practices, without pads and things like that. And I think the team was kind of getting the feel of the new facilities, out there in Dove Valley, which, by the way, the more we see of it, it's just like the Penners clearly hit a home run with this. It's not that we expected anything less, but man, they seemingly went all out. We've heard nothing but good things from the players. It's kind of funny. I saw some interviews, one with Pat Bryant specifically, where he was just talking about some of the new things that they have as far as technology goes, and he's like, I don't even know what that does. I don't even know how to use this thing. So it's kind of crazy, what they have access to in an NFL training facility. I'm sure it's top of the notch as far as it goes. Just from no expense left unturned. It'd be super cool to get eyes on. I don't know. I think. Correct me if I'm wrong. Did either of you two get tickets to not preseason, to training camp? I think it was just Jim and Braden, right?
Yeah. So they'll be going soon. So I convinced Braden to try to slip in to go to the bathroom and see where he can get access to. We'll see what happens.
Does that mean that you're going to be the person that has to bail him out if he is detained?
No, but maybe I'll show up and I'll be like distraction. I'll pass out or something. All the security will come and try to corral me.
It'd be funny.
Maybe we have Coach Cobb running on the field. Who knows?
Broncos Zone gets like famous because two of our guys got busted at Broncos training camp. That'd be awesome.
Good way to get media credentials.
Yeah, exactly. But I don't know. What's your guys'? I know we haven't had like actual eyes on, but everything you guys have seen or heard, what's your first impressions of the new facilities?
It's stunning. I loved the drone video, kind of going through everything. I mean, the cafeteria area is incredible. I know families will be able to take advantage of that. Obviously, the locker room, um,
Yeah.
huge upgrade, and like that's their home locker room, so they spend the most time there. I'm glad that they've got a full space, and it sounds like it's much larger than a 53-man roster. So you got some room to grow, which is nice. They're not all cramped. I hopefully we can all get a chance to go there. I'm sure they'll do like community events and experiences there instead of where they traditionally do them at the stadium. I want to go to that observation deck. That looks beautiful, just overlooking the practice fields. Sure, some nice Colorado sunsets there at the end of the day as well. So that was my thoughts, Vince. What were your initial impressions?
Yeah, I mean, it definitely looks it's beautiful in terms of as beautiful as any practice facility in the NFL can be. And I mean, I saw a quote out there where they said there's nothing like it in the NFL, and I mean, that's, if you're going to spend that kind of money, I think you want to be at the forefront, not trying to keep up with the Joneses, but surpassing them. And yeah, the Penners, they don't play around. They're not going to be shown up. And I hope it's just as a season ticket holder, I hope this is just a taste of the approach that they will be doing with the stadium. I hope they far succeed anything else that's around the league.
Yeah, it would be hard to imagine that they won't. I mean, just seeing what they did out there in Dove Valley. I mean, I've driven past it a couple of times, but I haven't been up close and personal. But I mean, it sure passes the eye test, at least at 35, 40 miles an hour as you drive past. That's for sure. But I can't wait to get out there and actually. I'll probably wait until next year when. I've seen, I don't know if this is all accurate or not, but I've kind of read reports and rumors. So, they've got the bleachers set up, I guess, what is that, kind of on the north side. I've read that they're actually, when they tear those bleachers down or remove those bleachers, they're going to put a berm in there to kind of bring back the berm feel from years past. So, but then also, Zach, speaking to what you kind of touched on with that kind of rooftop area, I believe that's also going to be opened up at some point during training camp. I don't know if it'll be this year, but in future years for fans to be up there as well. So the only downside that I see is I don't know if this is true or not, but I would imagine they'll probably sell tickets to get into that. I don't know if it would be free to go do the rooftop thing.
Yeah, that's probably a different experience. And then I think they'll tear down the old structure after training camp ends this year. It'll be interesting to see like what they put in place of that, whether it's football related or some type of temporary or flexible space where fans can go. So
yeah,
regardless, much elevated experience than years past. I hope they open up the deck. That'd be really cool.
Yeah, that'd be super cool. Well, let's shift gears and talk a little bit about trivia. I've got a trivia question here. I don't think it's going to be too hard, but you never know, I guess. So we're in August. It's training camp time, and training camp is famous for producing preseason darlings who light up August. A lot of times that maybe doesn't really mean anything in the grand scheme of things, but August is a fun time to watch. So in 2006, the Broncos had an undrafted rookie running back that stole the spotlight in training camp and in preseason. He earned a spot on the 53-man roster and then went on to rush for 136 yards and 2 TDs in his NFL regular season debut. I'll give you a clue if you need it, but can you tell me who that rookie running back was?
You said 2006?
2006, yeah.
Was that Jake Plummer as QB?
2006 had Jake Plummer, also had Jay Cutler.
I mean, so we were. I'm pretty sure that means we would be past Ruben Drones, but he wasn't a Broncos. He initially went to the Lions, so it couldn't be him. I'm trying to think of like other successful running backs from that time. Obviously not Tatum Bell. He was drafted. Oh, man, that's a good one.
Sorry, was he drafted or undrafted?
Undrafted.
Undrafted. Yep. That's the thing that's throwing me off.
So I'll give you a clue because the question is a little bit misleading. It almost makes you think like he just jumped in week 1 ran for 136 yards and 2 touchdowns. That actually did not happen until week 8. It came against the Peyton Manning-led Indianapolis Colts when they came into Denver, and Adam Vinatieri won on a 37-yard field goal with 6 seconds left.
Okay.
Is this also Clinton Portis years, or is that's before Clinton? I'm trying to put my timeline together, but he was drafted
after.
It's a little after.
It's after. Okay.
Yep.
And so it's not Quentin Griffin either, because the Broncos drafted him, the Oklahoma running back. Can I ask questions?
Sure. Yeah.
What was it were they from a Division I college?
Yes.
Okay. Man.
I'll give you another clue.
Okay.
He beat out. So this was still the end of the Mike Shanahan era. 06 was. So he beat out Ron Dane for the final roster spot. And he actually led the team that season with 8 rushing touchdowns.
He's running back, not a fullback.
Running back. Yep.
Unfortunately, Ron Dane does not help me.
It couldn't be Peyton Hillis.
Not Peyton Hillis. No. Nope.
Okay. Yeah. No. I mean, I really didn't think so. But can you tell me what college? This is gonna drive me crazy.
Is this a dead giveaway?
It's the last clue that I have though. So okay. he went to the University of Arizona.
Oh, is it Mike Bell?
Mike Bell. Yep.
Okay.
Oh.
Yep. Mike Bell.
Man, I forgot about him.
Yeah, a lot of people forgot about him.
Was he number 40? Something like that?
I don't recall what number he was, but he was so Tatum Bell he started the first what was it, 6-7 games of the season, and then he got injured. Something happened. I think it was an ankle sprain, and he didn't play in week 8, and in came Mike Bell and rushed for 136 yards and 2 touchdowns in a loss to Peyton Manning.
And he didn't do much. I mean, the rest of the season pretty good, but fizzled out after that. Because didn't we go back to Tatum Bell the following year?
I mean, we went back to Tatum Bell as soon as he was healthy. Yeah. Even though Mike led the team in rushing touchdowns, he was just he would have those, 6 carries, 6 carries in a game, but get 2 touchdowns.
Yeah. And that was a different running back strategy in the early 2000s. Like, it was, you'd ride your cowbell and that was it. Like, you didn't have these 2-3-headed monsters that you've got today. These dudes were built different.
Yeah.
Still got hurt, but just built different than they are today. So, good one. Yeah. Good. You stumped us.
Yeah. Yeah. Good old Mike Bell.
You stumped us till Vince saved us, like normal.
The second of the Bells. All right. Well, we can jump into some NFL news before we get into Broncos training camp. I did think that there was a couple of pieces of news out there in the NFL world that kind of caught my eye. I'll let you guys talk to a couple of these, but the one that I just thought was too juicy to pass up on was the fact that Taysom Hill is now a free agent, and I'm pretty sure that that's something that somebody on this panel called maybe in our first episode It was early in the early episodes, that's for sure. But I don't know. What do you guys think on that? You think I saw Sean Payton said he'll probably give him till the weekend. I think they're probably going to run into each other in Canton this week when they're out there for Drew Brees. So my guess is that's probably when they'll talk. But what do you think? I mean, is that just too good of a fit, or you think he'll be wearing Broncos orange and blue sooner rather than later?
Who does he take a roster spot from? Like, who is he better than today? Probably, maybe some tight ends, maybe some of our tight end depth.
That's where my
Adam Troutman had some good sentiments to say. They were good friends when they were both in New Orleans together. Dude's a freak athlete. He's also not young anymore. So like, this is not the Taysom Hill of 6 years ago, 8 years ago. He's definitely not taking a roster spot on any of the wide receivers where we've got a ton of depth. We don't know what the running back room is. Would it be an interesting storyline? Absolutely. But like, what does he do? Like, how many gadget players can you have? I don't know.
I'm going to throw out what may be a ridiculous question, but would you rather have had Taysom Hill in the AFC Championship game over Jared Stidham versus considering what we know now? I mean, hindsight being 2020, I would at least consider it.
Okay, this I love this question because last episode of Broncos Zone, the end, I talk about quarterback controversy, and we'll get more into that as we talk about training camp depth chart. But I asked Braden, would you rather have had Joe Flacco or any other veteran quarterback? And my answer was 100% yes. Now, if you ask me, would I have rather had Taysom Hill? My answer would be 100% yes, especially given the conditions, because he would have been able to run. That's a really great question, Vince. I love that question.
Well, and I mean the familiarity. I think it's hard. It's hard because if Sean Payton was the one calling the plays, I'd be like, why are we not bringing him in and just seeing what he still has left? But like, how much of those Taysom Hill type packages is Davis Webb going to be using? I don't know. Maybe a lot. But if you have confidence in somebody and believe in their abilities the way Sean Payton seems to with all his former players, like, why not bring him in? I mean, this is the time to do it. Like, see what they still have left in the tank at training camp.
My question goes back to what you kind of touched on right at the beginning. He's 35. I mean, what does he have left in the tank? I don't know. And are you okay with getting rid of, because you're spot on with regards to a roster spot. The Broncos are already in kind of we've got 56, 57, 58 guys competing for 53 spots. And if you add another guy in there, like who is the guy that you give up, for that roster spot? Now, that's a great question with regards to, kind of hindsight being 2020. Of course, I think, knowing what we know now, we would probably roll the dice with something else because we know how that ended up. But I don't know, that's the one thing that I like about Sean Payton, but then also kind of have my fears with Sean Payton. I love the fact that he's like super loyal to guys, but then I also wonder, like, well, just how much does that loyalty, like Lil Jordan Humphrey. Is Little Jordan Humphrey, when you look at the guys who are in that wide receiver room, to me, he's the name that probably should not be in that wide receiver room. But for the last couple of years now, I get it. He was cut and he went to the Giants and then we kind of picked him back up. But he wasn't a guy that like when we were kind of looking for free agents, I wasn't thinking, man, Lil Jordan Humphrey is the guy we should go out and get. But he got him because of his trust and because he knew what he could bring. I just wonder how far that can go. And I don't want to come to a point where, Broncos country is expecting Taysom Hill to come in and be this guy where, a gadget player type of guy like that can only work for so many years in the NFL before it just doesn't work anymore. You go to the well one too many times, and he's made a career of it. That's for sure. I guess we'll have to find out together if that career is going to continue here in Denver.
All right, another question. Taysom Hill was used a lot near the goal line. For each of you, is he a better option than any of our other running backs right now at the goal line? Because I'm not convinced that we've got the thumper that can do it. Remember, we went small in that running back room.
I mean, Coleman's a bowling ball. I would like to think that he would be somebody that, if not immediately, we could develop into somebody that we trust on, 3 yards in a cloud of dust type situation. But I mean, yeah, it's valid. And I mean, Bo's super agile and he is good in those goal line scrambling situations, but it's typically either scrambling or a designed play to get him out of the pocket. Taysom Hill, you're probably going to run him between the tackles. And I mean,
100%.
that's an additional body that you have to account for in an extremely physical way coming straight at you rather than Bo navigating around you to try to beat you to the edge. And so it's definitely a different look. I mean, yeah, red zone efficiency is so important in the NFL. I mean, at all levels of football, but especially in the NFL. If he could bring even that to the table, that's exclusively how we use them, I'd be fine with that.
Yeah, I mean, I think I'd like to see Coleman maybe get the first crack at it, just because he's kind of an unknown, and preseason's the perfect time for that, because I think you hopefully know exactly what you're going to get with Taysom Hill. Exactly what you just said, Vince. He's probably going to be a guy that runs it up the middle. And he's proven over his career that he's a guy that can go get that yard when you need that yard. So I don't not like it. I am definitely open to this. It just comes down to whose spot does he take. And I think the good news is it might hurt the feelings of one of those, tight ends, but that's probably one of the spots that we could, find a place for him is from that tight end position. So,
yeah, it'd either be tight end. I mean, you'd have to make a real decision around: do you not want to fall back anymore, or do you really risk it and say we're running with 3 running backs? See you later, Jaleel. Or my favorite running back of all time, Bidet. Which who knows? Sean Payton's in love with him too. He trusts him from a blocking scheme. You can trust Jonah Coleman? I don't know. Time will tell. We'll see. It's going to be interesting. And we could bring him in, and he still might not make the team. That probably is not going to happen. We'll probably cut someone else who's probably more deserving, but Sean Payton's going to do what he's going to do.
Yeah,
we'll see.
Yeah.
And honestly, I know we got to move on, but if we get to the point where injuries pile up in the middle of the season, I wouldn't be surprised if that's one of the first people Sean Payton calls.
100%. That's how Lil Jordan Humphrey was.
Yeah,
that's exactly right.
Yep. Michael Bandy.
Yep.
Near the end of the season, so interesting.
Yeah, it's interesting, and we'll see how it plays out. I do have a feeling that we'll probably be coming back to that at some point in the season because just because of that Sean Payton loyalty. That it seems to me those are the guys that he sticks with. Speaking of guys that kind of we know who they are. I did see a quote from Sauce Gardner this week where he was out there talking about the cornerback duo that they have in Indianapolis, and he's throwing out a lot of words and talking about how they're the best cornerback duo in the NFL. And I think it perked up a couple of people's ears, across the NFL, but certainly those of us here in Denver. Vince, I don't know what you think, but I don't know that Sauce Gardner and the Colts have the top duo. I won't even say top 3 duo in the AFC, let alone the NFL. I mean, that's just kind of what I think.
Yeah, I mean, if you're a Colts fan, I'm sure you love to hear it. If you're his teammate, I'm sure that's what you want to hear. But I mean, I think I still have a grudge against Sauce Gardner going back to his rookie year, where he got away with especially all the holding penalties we've seen called on Riley Moss. Like, he got away with 4 holding penalties in really key situations. I think that was Russell Wilson's first year. And so cool. Go ahead and talk about it. Why don't you stay healthy while you're at it and help your team in that regard? I don't need to hear this from you. That's what I gotta say about Sauce Gardner.
Yeah, availability, right? The best ability.
That's the best ability. I love that we don't have cornerbacks that are chomping at the mouth to talk about how good they are.
Right.
They just play. Now, they're not always going to have incredible coverage. We're going to let some plays up. Riley Moss is continuing to get targeted, and that will probably happen. But I'm going to take our duo over their duo any day. Plus our other backs. If we're really comparing back to back room, give me Jaquan McMillan over, honestly, Sauce Gardner.
Yeah, that's completely fair. I mean, look at big moment after big moment. Jaquan McMillan has stepped up. He has played big downs, and he has come up with big plays. Look, I don't want to take anything away from Sauce Gardner. He's good.
He's a stud.
He is a stud, but he's not better than Patrick Surtain. And I think that gap between Patrick Surtain, that gap he's created between him and even the next closest guy is a pretty big gap out there on the corner. I know there's probably a guy out there in Los Angeles who would argue on the Rams. There's probably a guy up in New England who would argue. But corners are such. You think about. We had Aqib Talib. We know Aqib ran his mouth, but during that no-fly zone, you had Chris Harris on the other side, and Chris ran his mouth on the field.
Yep.
But he let his play back up. I mean, his mouth went with the play, so, but you didn't hear him outside of the field talking about his greatness. It was really just chatter on the field. I think a lot of that goes back to, even just looking throughout history at the Broncos. I mean, Champ Bailey, I don't know. I'm biased. I love Champ Bailey in college. I love Champ Bailey when he got drafted to Washington. And then when we traded Clinton Portis to Washington for Champ Bailey, it was like the greatest day of my life. I celebrated that day. I bought a Champ Bailey jersey. My middle son, his middle name is Bailey. So I couldn't be a bigger Champ Bailey fan. And speaking of 2006, for those listeners, if you don't know Champ Bailey, Google Champ Bailey 2006 statistics and watch your jaw drop to the floor. It's the single greatest season a quarterback has ever had in the history of the NFL, and I'll stand on that till the day I die. But it started then, and probably even before then, with the Broncos' history of cornerbacks just out there doing the job, not running their mouth, not saying, hey, I'm the greatest in the world. And Pat Surtain reminds me a lot of Champ Bailey. So that's a big compliment that I have to him. And speaking of compliments, we don't typically see a ton of compliments come from other AFC West division foes. But we saw a reel this week where Ashton Genty from the Raiders talked about how the Broncos defense was the hardest to prepare for. I thought that was kind of cool. I like to hear other teams when they talk about the Broncos, because I'm going to be honest with you guys, I feel like the national media does a bad job of spotlighting the Broncos. I don't think they give us the credit that our team deserves. But it's cool when you hear it from other guys in the league. So I don't know what your thoughts are on that. The Raiders are, they were pretty terrible last year, and Genty obviously didn't have the season that he wanted to as a rookie. But the Broncos D obviously getting a little bit of a feather in their cap, at least from him, saying, hey, they were the best team, the hardest team to plan for.
Yeah, I think he even used the word that in reference to the defense, that it was a special group. And I mean, we kind of dovetailing off of what you were saying, Eric, we here in Denver who watch them agree with that. We felt like that was a historical defensive unit last year, and we're hoping to see something akin to that this year. But yeah, to hear maybe the most highly touted offensive rookie out of that class saying like, yeah, they were hard to play for and hard to play against. Like, it's fun hearing stuff like that. It's surprising. I don't think we would have been hearing that from a Raiders player in the 90s or the early 2000s. It's slightly different now, but yeah, it's just interesting to see those compliments being given out.
Yeah, and he's a rookie. I think most players, wise up and don't necessarily say that as they get a little bit more mature, or until you reach like elite status, and then it's like, okay, we know we're really good. That team's also really good. Cam Ward, if you guys are watching the quarterback show on Netflix, they're talking about him like preparing week 1 against the Broncos defense. Like, good luck. The amount of just like scheming that Vance Joseph put out there against him, like, and he still they were in that game with a couple minutes left. So like, it's nice to hear. We're legit. I'm glad that we're legit. And here's kind of like the double-edged sword I think about, the best double-edged sword possible. We actually don't know how good our offense is and how we're improving because our defense still remains so good. Like, and we'll talk about it in a minute here, defense is still dominating training camp. Obviously, it's early on. We got a lot of new pieces on the offense. Davis Webb coming over. I never have a good gauge on how good the offense is in training camp because the defense just dominates.
Yeah, I mean, it's a perfect segue, and we can jump right in, because that was kind of the main takeaway I think from day one with pads was that the defense kind of won the day, and I think that's probably to be expected, especially when you have a defense like the Broncos defense. That it's just, there's a bunch of veterans out there. They know what they know what to do come training camp. They know how hard they got to go. I think with the offense, you're right. They're still trying to kind of find their way. They've got a new coordinator. They got a new play caller. I guess not a new coordinator, but a new play caller. And they have guys that are, rookies that are, even Waddle not being a rookie, but he's new to the system. He's still trying to get it all down. So I think it's expected that the defense is going to come out there and probably lead the way. But I like where we sit with our offense. Because look, I do think, and we'll talk. Sometimes I think the quarterback is much like a coach. I think the quarterback gets too much credit when the team is high, and they don't get enough credit, or they get too much blame. I'm sorry, when the team is low. And I think that's where with regards to Bo last year when we won 14 games, he got an awful lot of credit. But I think for the people like us who are fans that watch the Broncos week in and week out, if it wasn't you guys, I don't know. I know I was saying this is, guys, that's not Bo Nix out there winning every game for us. He's winning some of these games for us, but it's the defense. The defense, there were a number of times where the offense would give the defense a short field and the team would stand and they'd either give up a field goal or no points. When we continually do that, it puts pressure on that defense to hold up. And over the past couple of years, they've just been amazing at, instead of giving up 7, they just give up 3. And you'd be surprised at how many times, and we saw it last year with, gosh, how many one-score games did we win? I don't know the number, 9,
13.
Something like that. 13. That's ridiculous.
No, maybe we didn't win that many. Close though.
No, they won 14 games overall, but I think it was like 8 or 9 games that were one-score games. I mean, so when you're not giving up that touchdown and you're giving up 3 instead, keeping it a one-score game, that's just, it's a hats off to the defense and in the scheme that Vance Joseph runs. But of course, you gotta have the players too, and the Broncos definitely have some players. So I don't know. I'm excited this year to see what we have on offense, because I do think our offense this year is better than what we've seen probably in the last 4 or 5 years. We've got a really confident quarterback. He's, I think he feels pretty comfortable with the playbook. He's got some burners now on the outside with adding Waddle. Marvin Mims has been huge the last couple of days. I can't remember who said it, but I think it was last week. Pat Bryant has looked like, a 3rd-round draft pick. So there's a lot of weapons on this Broncos team. We haven't even really heard much about Troy Franklin, and we know he's kind of a burner. So I don't know. What's your guys' just kind of initial take on what your feelings are with? Obviously, I think we all thought that the defense would lead the way, but what's your thoughts on the first couple of days of training camp?
Vince, I'll let you go first.
We'll start with you.
Yeah, I think I'm not going to say I would be worried if it were the other way around, but it would almost make me concerned or suspicious if the offense came out and just completely dominated our defense. I'll be like, what's happening? Because as much as that would be encouraging on the offensive end, like, we expect an extremely high top 5 defense output pretty much every year since Vance Joseph has taken over as the defensive coordinator. And so if the reports were that the offense came out and just completely dominated on day 1, I'd be like, oh, like, are they going to have to carry the team? And that would actually make me more nervous going into the year. And I don't think we will see the final form, so to speak, of this offense until I'd say somewhere between 8 and 10 games into the season, where everybody is going to be used to sort of the way in which Davis Webb calls plays. Now, that's a little unfortunate given the kind of murderer's row of a schedule that we have right at the beginning. But if we make it through that and the offenses look good, then like I'm going to feel really great about things. But I think it's going to take a little bit of time. I do think the offense is going to be better than last year. But yeah, so circling back, I expected the defense to dominate training camp early. It is nice to hear the reports of, players standing out. And yeah, I'm optimistic about this offense, quite optimistic, but they've got a tough job going against that top tier defense each and every day. And I think it's going to take a little bit of time before we see them fully hit their stride.
Yeah, Zach, what's a name, Zach, that you've heard kind of as a standout that either maybe surprises you or, just wasn't somebody who you maybe kind of caught you off guard? I don't know. Has there been a name?
No one yet. Well, maybe Pat Bryant. And maybe it is that guy. I think we kind of expect everybody else. So I'll do one on each side. I think Pat Bryant for the offense, and I think he's going to be a stud. I don't remember whose press conference it was that I was listening to. It was either yesterday or earlier today, talking about how Pat Bryant loves being in the slot because that's just like an automatic mismatch with a lot of the smaller DBs that get forced, or a safety that gets forced in there. So that is like an interesting dimension that maybe he gets utilized a little bit different. On the defense, I just had a guy and I lost. Wazirike. Not that I'm surprised, but like his names are automatically popping up. A couple episodes ago, we were talking about who's going to fill in for JFM. I think it's like almost becoming clearer each day, but Wazirike is absolutely stepping up. And so maybe the guy that like isn't getting as much attention, and we'll have to see how the rest of training camp goes, is probably Savion Jones. Again, it's going into his second year. Zach Allen was asked how Savion Jones is playing. And like, I don't think Zach Allen went like above and beyond to praise him, but said like, it's another year in the system. He's going to get more comfortable. And you go from thinking, especially from a scheme perspective, what Vance Joseph wants, to just playing. And I think that's going to be better. But those would kind of be my standouts right now. The one player that I wish I was hearing more about, and this is the only reason we heard about him today, for negative reasons, is Evan Ingram. Like getting into a scuffle. Like, dude, just go play. You gotta figure out some separation. He is on my potential cut list already. 3 days into camp. If he cannot like actually separate himself out of that tight end room.
Yeah, I would agree. I think there's definitely a spotlight on him. Just he didn't give us what we expected, at least from a fan's perspective. I think I would assume that the coaches are kind of in the same boat. Like, I have to imagine Sean Payton expected more from him last season, and he had. I can really only think of maybe a handful of catches where he had the ability to kind of break loose and, get into the open field. That was unfortunate because he was supposed to be a guy that was, kind of brought in to stretch the middle of the field for us, and it never really happened. And I think, Bo Nix is he's so accurate with his short game. I feel like a tight end that can catch the ball over the middle of the field, and who knows, maybe it's going to be a slot receiver, but somebody that can just consistently get open and catch the ball in the middle of the field with Bo Nix is just going to terrorize the teams that we play against. So yeah, I agree. Ingram is probably a name that's on the hot seat. For me, I don't know if it's a sentimental call. I want him to do well so badly is Riley Moss. And we've heard, he's just made play after play after play out there on the practice field. So, hopefully, here's the problem. I know they have reps out there at training camp, but we're not hearing if he's getting called for penalties when he's making these plays. So, that's always the question mark with Riley Moss. And it's super unfortunate because we know, the other guy on the other side of the field, Moss is going to get targets. They're just going to throw at him. So I would love to see him put together a really strong training camp and come out there and just kind of hush the whole rest of the league when they talk about, oh, this guy, he's good, but he commits penalties on every play.
So what you're saying is Riley Moss so far at training camp has gotten the Sauce Gardner treatment that he gets in actual games?
It sounds like it. I don't know. Yes, it sounds like it.
All right, we got to get a spy out there.
Yeah, exactly.
What's going on?
Exactly. But I feel like he's got one of the toughest jobs in the NFL, just playing on the opposite side of Surtain. And quite honestly, when you look at what McMillan does on whether it's covering the slot or in the nickel coverage, he's out there on an island, and most of the time he's playing against either a team's. Sometimes Surtain doesn't just get the number one. Sometimes he just sits on one side of the ball, one half of the field, and other teams will move their one to the other side of the field. So sometimes Moss is getting the other team's one. So he's got a tough job, and I do think he gets a lot of ticky-tack calls, which really does kind of bother me. But hey, if I see that call across the league with other players, then fine, so be it. But a lot of times I question that. I don't know. Another name that I'll throw out there real quickly. It was probably more day one. I didn't hear too much about him today, but it's Jonah Ellis. I think that's a name that we talked about a lot in this podcast. That's a guy that I think we all think needs to step up and is probably going to step up because we don't know what's going to happen with Jonathan Cooper. And so he's going to get some time. We know that he's going to get some play. So hopefully he's going to be able to fill those shoes. But I don't know, Vince, anything else that stood out to you? Oh, I know we're kind of going back to yesterday. We're going to talk about today as well, but anything from yesterday that stood out to you in some of the notes that you read?
In terms of strictly yesterday, I mean, I don't know, the Wattenberg thing had me nervous, but it seems like Sean Payton wasn't overly worried about it. It was fun to see. I can't remember who it was, but there was somebody who just was going, essentially expressing unconditional trust in Bo and how he's commanding things and saying that he's been working a lot with Davis Webb. Bo has been working a lot with Davis Webb to sort of fine tune the way things are working, and the confidence that brings to the huddle is significant. So, I mean, yeah, in terms of the play, nothing more than I've already said, but I think some interesting things have come out in the interviews. Yeah, I'll leave it at that.
Yeah, I heard a little bit from Waddle today, just talking about that with regards to Bo Nix and how he loves to have him as a teammate. Man, I can't imagine what it's like to be an NFL player, number one. I'll just say that. But to be a guy who has just been at the top level at every single, stop, whether it was high school, whether it was college, and then you come into the pros, and I'm talking about Waddle, and you're on the Miami Dolphins, and I mean, let's be honest, they weren't very good. Their quarterback play was dicey. He put together some good seasons, but I think coming to Denver has got to feel like a breath of fresh air to him, where and again, I don't know the inner workings of the Miami Dolphins, but to me, the Broncos seem to be on a different level with regards to how the organization is run. And it's got to feel like a breath of fresh air for him to come to an organization like the Broncos, where they've got clearly defined leaders on both sides of the ball. They've got a quarterback that they've put trust in. And that's not to say that Tua didn't have trust. But, I mean, again, we'll go back to that your best ability being availability. With Tua, it was just kind of like, when's the next time he's going to get hit hard? So but I don't know. What's your thoughts on kind of what it has to feel like for Waddle coming over to the Broncos?
Yeah, I mean, if I were him, I'd be really intrigued, because I think about what moves the Broncos have made in the past couple off seasons. They've almost all been on defense, where they've all worked out incredibly well. Like, we've been able to take players that were really good or pretty good, potentially had some injury concerns, but they all elevated their game on the defense side when they went to Vance Joseph. The offensive side is where we have not seen as much of that success. Evan Ingram's one of them. I would say McGlinchey's been solid. Has he elevated his game to the next level? I don't know. Debatable. Waddle is going to look like a freaking king if he comes in here and just lights it up. So I think I completely agree with you. Like, breath of fresh air. There's no divas on this team. Yeah. It's super rare. Waddle might be the most diva-y in that wide receiver room, and he's still a humble dude. I think he's got to earn the respect and trust of everybody in this team. I think he knows that. He's a consummate professional. But, I would love coming here if I'm a free agent. I'm actually surprised that we didn't get more of those players. Now, again, obviously there's other concerns with money and whatnot, but why would you not want to come to a team like the Broncos right now? With the roster we've got, like, there's a window. You've got great ownership. I know everyone's talked about the facility being a chip. Like, I think of like getting a free agent, it's the team. Let's not lie to ourselves here. Do you have a quarterback that's competent that can get me the ball as a wide receiver? That's all he cares about. So yeah, that's what I look at. I think it's probably similar to how J.K. Dobbins felt when he was coming over. That's what I'd probably assimilate it to.
Yeah, which is cool because we've heard Dobbins go on record as saying he wants to retire a Bronco. Like he says, I've found a home in Denver, and we'll see how everything works out. But I just look back, when you talk about the Chiefs, and I'm not saying the Chiefs are. I don't want to discredit them yet. I'm not completely burying the Chiefs because there's still that kind of monster underneath your bed, hiding, maybe in waiting. But you think back kind of in that in their heyday, their team speed was just absolutely fast. They were faster than everybody. They were just faster than everybody. You start to look at what the Broncos have with regards to team speed now. I mean, they've got burners on the outside. They've got Waddle. They've got Franklin. They've got Mims. Even in the running back room, I mean, obviously Dobbins isn't going to win any races, but Harvin's probably one of the faster running backs, so we've got some really nice team speed on offense. You look at Evan Ingram. I know we're kind of down on Evan Ingram, but as far as a tight end, when he gets out in that open space, he's able to pull away from people. So you see the pieces of, kind of, they're there. Those pieces are there. I'm not saying it's going to turn into some Chiefs dynasty like, Kansas City took it to. But those pieces, I think, are there. It's now what can we do with those pieces? So it'll be interesting to see. It kind of makes me wonder. Is there really that much difference between Andy Reid and Sean Payton? Can one guy really get the most out of his guys, whereas the other guy, it seems like for one reason or another, maybe can't get the most out of his guys. I don't know. But we'll see.
There's a window.
Yeah.
And I'm sure you guys read this Seth Wickersham piece, and there was a lot of talk about why Sean Payton would allow any reporter access like that. And I think the obvious answer is, like, Sean Payton legitimately thought the Broncos had a chance to win the Super Bowl last year, and it would have been an incredible story, that everything would have been detailed in that, and that it would show how incredible of a coach he is. So kind of the exact opposite approach of what Andy Reid would ever do. Yeah. But that's telling. And I kind of like that from a coach of, like, they know when they know. This is a critical year for us. And, like, if Waddle has a great year, if the Broncos win the Super Bowl, our window shrinks, actually, which is sad because Bo Nix is going to get paid. So we got a couple minutes left. I want to ask you both, like, what does it take to get Bo Nix a $50 to $60 million a year contract? If he's even worth that. He's kind of in tier 2. They're like, all these rankings are coming out. but his agent's going to try to get the most amount of money. What does our team look like this year? Do we have to win the Super Bowl? Is there a receiver that stands out? What does Bo have to do? He's already won 14 games.
So I have some thoughts on this. I wrote a little bit last year about Bo Nix, and I feel like, so I know you guys came down hard on me a couple weeks ago with my Drake May take, and really I'm not going to go back to that, but I do want to justify. I was basically saying he had one good year. I wasn't saying he's the fourth best quarterback in the league. I feel like he deserved that ranking because he had a good season the year prior.
Yeah.
That being said, Bo Nix not being on that list is the most ridiculous thing of all time. Bo Nix has done things not just in a Broncos, in a Broncos uniform, but not just from a Broncos historical standpoint. He's done things from an NFL historical standpoint that no other quarterbacks have done. That's where I don't understand why the national media still has this, well, Bo has to show us that he can do it type of attitude. I feel like he has shown them that he can do it. I think a lot of it has to do with the fact that he's got a top 2, top 3 defense behind him. And we don't look, the Broncos just historically, we don't win games by 20 points plus. That's just not, we don't do that. It would be nice if we could get to a point where we won some games, by 2 scores or more, but we haven't. So what does Bo need to do? I think Bo needs to put together another season just like the one he had last year. 30 plus touchdowns, 3,800 yards to 4,000 yards, somewhere in that ballpark. 30 plus touchdowns, probably somewhere in the low, hopefully low teens with regards to interceptions. Hopefully nothing higher than like 13 or 14. I don't think he has to win another 14 games, but I do think you're going to be you're looking at somebody who can prove that last year wasn't a fluke, that his leadership ability is something that can continue year after year. Because when you look at the other great quarterbacks in the NFL, when you look at the Patrick Mahomes and the Josh Allens, what are the things that they do every single year? They're consistent every year. They go out there and what they're going to put out on the field. I don't know if it's going to translate into a win every single game, but I do know if Josh Allen's one of the best competitors that I've seen. And I think Bo Nix has a lot of Josh Allen in him with regards to a competitive fire. And I think that's, to me, that's what Bo Nix has to show, is he has to show that last year wasn't a fluke and that we can go out there. Again, it doesn't mean winning 14 games again, but I would like to see us win the AFC West again. I think that would be a big feather in his cap. And I think, going out there and putting up similar numbers, since we have, by all accounts, a better offense than we had last year. To me, that's what I think it takes.
Yep. All right, Vince, I want to hear your thoughts. For context, Brock Purdy makes $53 million a year. Vince, do you pay Bo more than Brock Purdy? Now, that was a crap deal, I think. Like, Brock has not shown consistency. That was 1 year flash in the plan in a Mike Shanahan-like offense with his son Kyle running it. Do you pay Bo more than $53 million? You said it before. Defense leads this team.
Yeah, I could accept Bo getting paid more than Brock Purdy if he does not have another significant injury. To me, that's the big thing. I think his ability to keep the Broncos in a game, even in his rookie year, there were some moments where it got away from us, but he still ended up bringing us within a shout. And specifically, I'm thinking of, I think it was a home game against the Chargers. I think we were down 20-0 at halftime, and there was a pretty significant comeback in the fourth quarter where we were asking the question, could they come back and win this? They didn't. But then you look at this past year, we were competitive in every game except for maybe the Jacksonville one, but it's not like we got completely blown out. And so, I don't know that you can ask a whole lot more from a quarterback than somebody who gives you a chance week in and week out. And I fully believe that Bo Nix does. The injury, while it does seem like a freak thing, he also said that he's had that same kind of injury a couple times previously in his life. And I mean, I just, that's the one thing that would give me pause in terms of paying him that kind of money. I so desperately do not want to go back to the days of trying to find a quarterback, and I really and truly believe we have that guy in Bo, but like, you know, I don't want injury troubles for anybody. But yeah, like if it were to happen, something even remotely similar, I would start to get nervous. And if I were the person who made the call on what those numbers looked like from the Broncos side, that would be a really stressful call in my opinion. Like, how do you not, like, I don't think you can afford to let him walk away, but you can't hamstring your franchise by tying them to somebody whose injury history might be worrisome. But let's significantly hoping that is not something we ever have to talk about.
Yeah, because on the defensive side, we're going to age. And a lot of these guys were acquisitions that we did not draft. And so you guys are getting paid. We will not always have this dominant defense. We're in this rookie quarterback window. We have to take advantage of it now.
Yeah, the other piece of that is Vance Joseph isn't going to be a D coordinator for the rest of his career.
No.
He's going to get another head coaching opportunity. So, yeah, the iron's hot. It's time to strike. That's kind of what I think with regards to Broncos this year. Last thing I did want to touch on, we'll get out of here after this. There was reports out of camp today that Nick Bonito left camp after a lower body injury. Didn't come back onto the field. I heard after, actually just before the show started, I think it was through Romy Bean, but Sean Payton had come out and said that he does not think it's a significant injury. So everybody can kind of take that deep breath and relax a little bit. Hopefully it's just nothing more than a bruise, and we'll see Nick Bonito back out there again, because you touched on it, Vince. Injuries are the one thing that can just derail a season faster than anything else. So hopefully we can make it through the next month or so with as limited injuries as we can. It's the NFL, so injuries do happen. You probably don't make it to September at 100%, to be quite honest with you. But, you know, I think that was good news to hear with regards to Nick Bonito, because we don't need to lose a star right away. So I think that kind of wraps us up for tonight. But fellas, appreciate the conversation. I know it's exciting times with training camp finally here. And you know, it won't be long before we are talking about our first preseason game. So until next week, I guess, everybody take care. Make sure to like, follow, subscribe, share with your friends, tell everybody, run and come and listen to us. We're going to have some good things coming. Everybody take care and go Broncos.
Go Broncos.
Go Broncos.